It's hard to believe block 10 of the Pathfinder system, phase 1 system, is already here. It's been a good journey and I'm really excited to wrap it up. I'll have some reflections later on in another video, but today we are looking at signaling. And so this is Justin. Well, you're watching another episode of Dirt Time Adventures, and it's going to be a good episode on what to prepare in the event of a need for rescue, how to signal, and the biggest thing to an adequate signal fire in an emergency situation is to have all the materials prepared, ready to go for when you have a possible ground-to-air signaling opportunity. And so the great thing about your kit is you should have some items in it to be able to immediately signal with in the event that you find yourself lost and you just happen to see someone who may not be looking for you. And you should have items such as your tarp that you can use to make ground-to-air signals. You should have some bandanas or some cloth that you should be able to signal and flag with. Most of your compasses nowadays have mirroring devices that you could mirror and signal with a solar type signaling device using the sun to capture the sun and signal at a distance. And then if all else fails, you should have a fire kit in your your travel kit, your backpack. Even on short backpacking trips, it's important that you carry at least the main, what I would consider the main 3 or 4, which is a cutting tool, a combustion device, and some type of container, most likely. And so you got, if you have a knife and a way to start a fire, you have a means for signaling. And that's what I'm going to show you mainly today. Instead of pulling out my kit and demonstrating how to signal with each of these items, I'm just going to show you a simple signal fire that you could use in the event of an emergency. So when collecting material, it's best to start off your base layer once again with dry, dead little twigs, especially pencil lead or smaller. Get the driest ones you can find. Make sure you listen for that nice snap. That's what you want, is that good, clear snap, okay? Also, on your green, I'm in a nice little cedar patch right here with some cedar to my right and some behind me. Instead of chopping down an entire tree, it's good to utilize and save these resources for longer term. And so instead of chopping down an entire tree for cedar boughs, what you can do is you can cut down the lower branches, cut off the lower branches, and what that'll do is that will allow you to be able to leave the tree so that it continue to be sustainable in the forest instead of just butchering it. So we have 3 downfall limbs that we're going to use for our tripod. We have some cross members here. We got our green boughs that are fresh and green cut. And a little bit over here, we got our pencil lead sized twigs, a little bit bigger twigs, some cedar bark, some more twigs, a little bit smaller or small diameter, bigger than thumb fuel, and then some a little bit drier cedar boughs. So these are going to help ignite and catch the other cedar boughs on fire. And so this is our material. The biggest thing too is when you're selecting a signal fire location, make sure that it's out in the open and that there's a clear canopy above your head so that anybody would be able to spot you. And especially on a real cloudy day today, gonna probably get rained on any second, then you want that smoke black. For training purposes, always keep a bucket of water on hand. That's a little bit of the fire safety there. And so let's get to building. tightening it down, and now it's just a matter of doing the good old figure 8 through it. And just pulling it tight as I go. Gonna get just a couple simple lashings there, and then do a couple quick fraps. So now we got our tripod in place. Now it's time to put on some cross members. That way we can build a platform for the signal fire. Alright, so now that we got a platform, now it's time to begin actually developing the signal fire. Now once again, this is something you would build in the event that you had to make camp and was not able to proceed for long distance, severely sprained ankle or broken leg, something you could assemble and build while having to be somewhat semi-stationary. So what my initial goal is to make a semi-TP type inner system built inside of it to where I can still put my tender bundle in it. And so I'm going to build a semi-TP structure like this with the thin twigs, piling bigger stuff on it so the wind don't blow it away, of course, but also so that way as the flame burns through each of the layers, it'll create more heat, and the thicker sticks will provide more fuel, and also the opening in the bottom will allow the oxygen to really take and hit the green boughs. Just keep building to the TP fashion. Last but not least, the main green boughs. Isn't she beautiful? Check this out, guys. Alright, so got my signal fire built and ready. Got a nice infrastructure that's full of dried material that's going to be highly flammable. Okay, I don't know what this stuff is right here. Maybe you do. But I will tell you, it is some amazing tinder. So we're going to use that for our tinder. And you don't even have to process that down really. So we're going to shove it in the middle of my signal fire, and then going to use some fat wood to get it started. burn ourselves. Time to light this puppy up. You can see just within minutes of an adequately built tinder bun or signal fire. We got to back up because it's so hot. Just within minutes of putting flame to an adequately built signal fire, you will be able to put out some flames. And like I said, the bigger you build it and the more green you use, the blacker your smoke will be. I'm going to tend to the fire so it don't get out of control. So as you can see from today's signal fire, that you have to have a good solid base. It burned for quite a while until the heat just burnt through the bottom layer, the platform. And so it's important that something I could have done differently was probably have used green limbs instead of dead limbs for the base. That means they wouldn't burn as fast. And so I probably had a 4 or 5 minute burn time and a pretty good quick black smoke coming out of it. Wasn't able to get that on camera real well, but build a more solid platform of green material so it don't burn, and thicker and greener, and that'll keep it off the ground longer, because after about 4 minutes it pretty much burnt through the platform. Because this was just a testing and training, and also because it's still pretty dry outside, I didn't want to get too big of a signal fire. But what you would do in an emergency situation is probably build it about 2 or 3 times thicker of green boughs. That way it burns longer and you have more black smoke. So this is really just a small scale version of something you would do a lot bigger and thicker in a wilderness survival situation. Well, man, I'm excited. It was even though my fire's on the ground now, I was really impressed with how well it stood up. And I knew I'd probably have some foundational issues with not using thicker, greener platform boards. But you live and you learn, and that's the whole purpose of the Phase 1 system. Well, as nice as this fire is, and as much as I'm enjoying it, I have a lot of work to do today. So I think it's about time to put this fire out and to call it a success, man. Pathfinder Phase 1. Get ready to wrap it up, and I got a lot of reflection to do and a lot of thinking about what have I've learned and gained from this. So I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you guys. So be sure to stay tuned for another episode on the Pathfinder Phase 1, and it'll be wrapping it up, man. It's all putting it in the books and moving on to new and fresh and exciting things. And so thanks again, guys, for always tuning in and for just encouraging me and challenging me. And even if I didn't have but 1 or 2 subscribers, it's such a blessing and such a motivator to get out there and train and try to catch it on footage, if anything, for my kids. And that's kind of one of the things I'm kind of bummed about with the Phase 1 system, is that I wish my kids could have been more involved. But just our weekends are insane, serving in ministry, on staff at a local church, and working, and all the trips that I've had going on different backpackings and outdoor adventures. It's just been swamped. But hopefully I'll get my kiddos in some more videos coming soon. So remember, get a kiddo out in the woods, and as always, keep it practical, primitive, and prepared.